Alex Murdaugh has been charged with the unthinkable, the execution-style murders of his wife Maggie and his son Paul. But what makes this even more shocking is who Alex Murdaugh is and the history of his family in the Low Country of South Carolina. His family's prominence in the legal community began more than 100 years ago with his great-grandfather, who founded a one-man firm in the small town of Hampton. He served as the local prosecutor in the criminal court and was suing companies and corporations in civil court. Then, generations of Murdaughs followed in his footsteps, making lots of money in civil court and controlling the prosecutions in the criminal court. Alex continued this tradition as an assistant solicitor and civil lawyer, making 7 figures a year. He enjoyed immense power, privilege, and influence until his world began to unravel after the murders of his wife and son. Allegations of stealing from his law firm and from his clients. Allegations of staging his own attempted murder. And now he's on trial, charged with double murder. Tonight, the latest from the courtroom and courthouse, which was evacuated today after a bomb threat. We are live from Walterboro with our continuing coverage of the Murdaugh family murders. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Another dramatic day inside and outside of that courtroom and courthouse. So let's start here. I've been saying this from the beginning, and it is so true. This is such a big trial in a small town. It absolutely is. And think about having this small community that's kind of maybe you heard of, maybe you didn't, and most people probably never saw and would never hear of it. But now the nation and literally the world is watching this trial play out. This case against Alex Murdaugh. People are reading about it in big cities, in countries around the globe. But it's all taking place in this small town. But make no mistake, when it comes to hosting this huge trial, the folks down there on the ground, the Colleton County Courthouse, top notch, absolutely top notch. Security is tight at this courthouse. I experienced it myself. You know, the first day I walked into that courtroom, I was eyeballed. Someone was looking at me like, who's looking at me? Is this someone, you know, is this someone who doesn't like my show? Is this someone who, I don't know, maybe someone I said something about? No, it was security inside, plain clothes, but didn't know who I was and wanted to know and found out very quickly who I was. They know everyone who's coming inside that courtroom. The security, I mean, I've covered trials around the country. I've been everywhere, big cities, and I've never really seen a case of this magnitude handled so easily and seamlessly and well. It's really amazing that they came together and they are getting the job done. And when you have, again, the world watching and everything happening, things are always a little tense when it comes to each moment in the courtroom and at the courthouse. Today was one of those days because the judge had to stop the trial. You don't want to, as the judge, and this judge especially values the jury's time and everyone's time, and is working hard to give Alex Murdaugh a fair trial, but also to keep things moving. But everything came to a halt today, and everybody had to be evacuated because of a threat to the courthouse. So, not the first time you're going to see something like this. I mean, there are threats to buildings and government buildings around the country a little too often, to be honest with you. But here it is, a big trial. The world is watching. The world is seeing a lot at stake. I don't know where this threat came from. We may find out in a little bit. But I want to take you to the courthouse so you can take a look at what it was like today down in Walterboro, South Carolina, when the judge had to halt everything and get everybody out of that courthouse. know, there's a certain intensity to a trial like this, and really anytime you're in a courthouse in America because of the security and the nature of what's taking place inside. But here, I mean, things get elevated quite a bit when everyone's got to evacuate. And you want to make sure that, you know, the jury is safe and, you know, nothing happens to the jury. You've got to get Alex Murdaugh, who's in custody, out of there safely, but he's got to stay in custody. So, you know, things could go south very easily, but I don't think they did. And again, it comes back to the folks down there in Walterboro, Colton County, who are hosting the trial that the world is watching. Let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter, joining us live from outside the courthouse in Walterboro, South Carolina. Chanley, a very unexpected moment. Could be tense, could be really bad. Tell us exactly what happened today.
It was certainly alarming. I was sitting inside that courtroom in that moment, and as you can see behind me, much calmer scene tonight at the Colton County Courthouse than what you just showed. Yeah, so it's about 12:20 earlier today. The prosecution just called a SLED expert to the stand, and he was being sworn in, and then suddenly I'm sitting in the gallery and I see one of the usual courtroom bailiffs enter the judge's door, very agitated. He goes to the judge, he's whispering, he's gesticulating, this and this and this and this. And then suddenly it was a pause, and very calmly the judge spoke to everyone. Let's watch.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have to evacuate the building at this time, so we'll be in recess until we discover what's going on.
So, of course, that packed courtroom full of maybe 200 people, Vinny, start immediately murmuring, you know, what's going on? What's happening? The jury is filed out. We are told to exit swiftly. There's a one way in and one way out, as you know, normally. But in the video that you showed earlier, they were allowing people out in the second floor door of the court. That's the actual courtroom door that's always locked. To expedite the evacuation of the building, they opened that door, and so you see a lot of the players exiting from that second floor. And we were back here at our live shot location. I'm about to go live on Court TV, and suddenly the deputies start running the perimeter of the courthouse lawn, telling all the media to immediately leave right then. We didn't have time to grab much at all, to go across the street to a safe zone where we waited for 2.5 hours, it seemed, before they allowed us back in this courthouse. We know that the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division bomb squad team was called in, and they swept the building. They used their K9 bomb sniffing dogs and debunked the threat. Thankfully, everyone is okay and safe here, but we learned that it was a telephone call in to the courthouse of a bomb threat at, this afternoon, really, 12 o'clock, and that they are still investigating the source who initiated that threat, but all is safe and good now, and we did hear actually some testimony today.
You know, you think about all the things that have to be done at that moment, right? So Alex Murdaugh's in custody. So he has to be taken out of the courtroom, but he can't, go out the same door everybody else is going out. He's still in custody. So you've got to navigate all of that. It's not an easy feat when you have a situation like that. What was really impressive, though, was the judge. Bringing that calmness to what could have been a really bad scene there.
Absolutely. He has this tone and tenor that kept the situation calm. And Vinny, you're right. I was standing out here in the perimeter, and I could see the mobile command center of the Colton County Sheriff's Office escorting the transports away. Alex Murdaugh was quickly transported away. His caravan was seen speeding off out of this courthouse, as well as the jurors, the judge, everyone, to make sure they were safe. And the public, the members of the public, the 120 members of the public, they hung out here around the perimeter with us. And I did catch up with a couple of them today that were inside that courtroom to see their thoughts on being a part of this big day. Let's watch.
The witness had just been called up and was spelling his name, and then all of a sudden it was just, jury, go back to the room. It was very kind of hushed and rushed, but it was calm. You know, it wasn't anything chaotic. So just interesting, but out of nowhere.
So, Vinny, I know I've told you this before, but we've spoken to the captain in charge of the security here at the courthouse many times over the last 3 weeks, right? They have been preparing for this trial for months here, and he's told me that they were prepared for anything from day one, outside and inside this courthouse, as you said earlier, doing a fantastic job. They have the mobile command center here, and he has told us that there is a lot of security that we can see and a lot of security that we cannot see. Last I spoke with him last week, he said I said, have you had any threats? Is anything going? No, but he said we are prepared for literally anything. We have a protocol, and so it did seem today that immediately, whatever protocol that was, it was put in place and executed quite efficiently today.
Yeah, there's a lot of courthouses around the country that could learn from the folks in Colton County. Let's bring in our guest joining us also tonight in Charlotte, North Carolina, host of the Murdaugh podcast, Impact of Influence. Matt Harris back with us. Matt, quick reaction from you to what happened today. A little scuttlebutt with someone apparently phoning in a bomb threat.
Yeah, well, the Murdaugh story that we've been doing the podcast for since June of 2021 never ceases to amaze us as to what turn it will take. It's been doing this kind of weird meandering through time and constantly events happening that you don't expect to happen. So it's kind of par for the course on how this whole Murdaugh mess has gone on.
Okay, I want to get to some of the testimony because Chanley did mention they did get back to business inside the courthouse today after everyone was let out and then finally let back in. The GSR, gunshot residue expert, Megan Fletcher, back on the stand. Cross-examination today as well. Let's take a listen to some of her testimony.
After your conversation with Ray and Neil about what a witness had relayed to him, you, in consultation with Agent Neil, decided not to test the target.
That's correct. That was based on that the raincoat was balled up in a closet versus the tarp being folded in a container and in place in a location.
When you say balled up, what do you mean?
I wasn't there, so I don't know, but that was the information. It was haphazardly placed in the bottom of the closet.
If it had been folded and placed on top of some other items in the closet, would that have made a difference to you?
I'm not sure. That would have had to have been a discussion between the agents and my management.
Have you seen all the photos of the search warrant, where it was found and how it was folded or not folded, balled or not balled?
I've seen one photo.
Okay. The one that's in evidence here?
I'm not sure.
You documented that the supposition was that the firearm was in contact with the rain jacket.
They were trying to determine, I think, whether a firearm was in contact with the rain jacket, and that was a possibility given my results.
Okay. Do you remember what you did with the blue tarp? You put it in storage and it's never been taken out again, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, I don't know what happened to the blue tarp.
All right. Chanley's still with us, right? Is she still with us? Chanley Painter as well? Okay, good. I'm going to start with Chanley on this, Matt. Chanley, as we're looking at this picture of the raincoat in the closet, remind me, though, initially they went to that house to find a tarp, didn't they?
A tarp-like fabric, Vinny. So it was a more expansive type of search. And they did actually find a tarp, as was said, but it was neatly folded up in a storage box on top of some dishes. And the raincoat, however, a tarp-like material, according to prosecutors, was kind of crumpled up and stuffed behind something in a closet. And so that's why they felt that it was more likely the poncho raincoat as opposed to a neatly folded tarp with silver on one side also, by the way, according to that photo. Right,
yeah, we're looking, it's two colors, but one color is obviously blue. Like if it was red, I would get it, but it's the same color. I I don't know why you wouldn't just test both of them. Like, I don't understand that. It baffles my mind, and not because maybe they missed evidence, maybe they didn't, but it just makes them look like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You have a search warrant for a tarp, and you found a tarp, and you completely ignored it because it's in a bin, hidden, yet the thing that's in the open, you tested. I get it. Great work getting the raincoat, too, and not saying it's not a tarp. But, wow, Matt Harris, my head's going to explode from this because you just want, like it's like we're looking at this in hindsight, but it's like, I don't know how it would make sense even before hindsight. Like, why would you not test the tarp? Just test the tarp. I mean,
it's so confusing.
You've got the access to the labs and the people, and the tarp's here. All right, we'll test the raincoat first, and then we'll take however long, we'll test the tarp.
Yeah, and on top of that, it sounds like they don't even know where the tarp is. Like, what happened to the tarp? That's even more bewildering. Like, I don't know about that tarp thing.
And do we know? Do you have any pictures?
In
all your research, Matt, in this case, do we know if anyone has ever seen Alec wearing the blue raincoat? Because that would be great.
I have not seen that. I've not seen a picture of it. No one can even prove that it was Alec's raincoat or poncho, however you want to word it. We even talked to a person close to the situation who knows Alec well, and he said it could be anybody's poncho. A lot of people have blue ponchos in the area. And to have gunshot residue on it doesn't really mean anything. I'm sure it resonates with the jury, but as was testified to today, that gunshot residue can be there for a long time, 4 years, even more. And it could be because there was a gun in there. It could be because the person was shooting the gun. We don't know. And they tried to point out, and they've unfolded it and tried to show how large it was, so it would be tarp-like, because Alec's a big guy. But it just doesn't make sense. But it also doesn't make sense why they never went to the mom's house the day until however long afterward of the murders. They didn't go there the night of the murders.
And they also didn't do is they had the witness who saw Alec carrying the thing, and they didn't show her a picture of the tarp and a picture of the raincoat and say, does this look familiar? Does Alec? It just looks like they're trying to hide something by not asking the actual witness who saw it, is this what you saw? And then I don't understand it. I mean, the job of the prosecutor, it is what it is. You can't change the evidence. It is what it is, and you've got to present it. And if you think some evidence isn't good for you and it looks like you're hiding it, that's not good either. I don't understand.
No, not at all.
All right, yeah. Matt Harris.
Alec even leave it there. Alec could have gotten rid of it a lot of different places.
Absolutely. Could have been his dad. I don't know. But it just doesn't make you look like you're doing the right thing. And all us prosecutors, like I was, like Chanley was, we always have to do the right thing no matter how it turns out.